This episode of Telling Our Stories is sponsored by SayItInACard.com. If you feel it, we say it in a card. Visit us today, www.sayItInACard.com. SayItInACard.com is an online greeting card company that delivers right to your front door. Visit our website, www.sayItInACard.com. You can read the cards, order the cards, and we ship them directly to you. If you feel it, we say it in a card. We have breakup cards, troubled relationship cards, troubled friendship cards, and of course, all of the traditional cards as well, from birthday to Mother's Day. So again, visit us at www.sayItInACard.com. Free shipping for a limited time. Previously on Telling Our Stories. Why don't gay men and women party together? I've heard instances where lesbians assert their masculinity, like if a gay boy dances with a girl and it might be somebody's girlfriend, the stud will kind of buck, like, well, what you doing? You know, that's my girl.
I was being pursued by a straight woman.
So y'all dated?
For 6 months. 6 months.
So she just wanted to take a dip in the lady pond.
Yeah.
All of the chairs except for these three he helped put together. Yes, indeed. The table, I actually had a barbecue, and they were out here putting together the table at the barbecue. All right, y'all ready?
Let's go.
How did you feel after your first sexual experience with someone of the same sex? Did you feel a sense of guilt, shame? Did you feel alive? She said traumatized.
I was
pain.
overwhelmed. Pain, child.
What?
It was painful for me.
I didn't ask you how did it feel physically. I got the emotional level. There's always a whore in the building. For me, I felt a sense of guilt.
I felt guilt.
Really?
Yeah, I felt like overwhelmed with
I
like
felt
guilt.
like, oh yes, this is it.
When I was there, I
Oh, like
did.
this
When
right here.
when I went home, I did.
So when you were there
In the
with
moment,
her,
you were fine.
In
When
the
you say
moment,
home, do you
I
mean like
was
to a
like-
parent house?
no, when she left.
Right, like when I was there, after the whole cuddling and all that, I was
She went
good.
12.
But when I walked outside that house and I became,
It hit you.
It was like, oh shit. And it's a mental thing. Like I said, with women, it's for us, it's more mental and emotional than
Yeah,
it is. I think
that's
for me, I
facts.
was
Yeah.
saying, I ain't gonna say all women. And for a moment, I thought people could see something about me.
Got that gay
Right.
I want to hear from the people that said traumatic. Like what?
Your neighbor said,
I know I heard her say, but I talked to someone else. Say,
I was saying I loved it. I was
she
like,
said, I loved it.
that's very rare that you like it on the first try.
She has a
Someone's a little more
This is
experienced.
what I've been missing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not.
Wait, what was your question saying?
I was gonna say the same thing.
But I didn't always act on it, but I always
But you knew.
felt,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
I wanted to do it.
I share your same sentiments.
Yeah.
You know, I knew I was a little boy that I was attracted to men, but I was attracted to the same sex, not as a little boy. But yeah, but I didn't act on it until I was a grown man.
How old were you?
So my first experience was 22.
I was 22.
Yeah.
So it's safe to say you suppressed it.
You suppress the act, but not some of the emotion. If that makes sense. Like, I was attracted to people, and I knew I was attracted. I just didn't act. I suppressed the act. Yeah.
But Derek, how did you feel after the first experience?
So I was happy. I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, mentally and physically, because it was something that I had always wanted to experience.
Right.
I just wasn't at the point in my life that I was willing to take that next step.
Okay. I'm not trying to be cruel.
I love. So.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
somebody you
exactly.
love.
Yeah.
Way to go, Paul.
okay.
Somebody you love.
I was 21.
Okay.
21.
And he's from Ohio.
And
I'm only saying that because I think geography plays a
It
part
does, yeah, I
in
think it does too.
how soon you sometimes come out. Because I have friends that are from New York. They came out at 14 and 13. You know what I mean? Like they were younger. So I think
So for
no
me,
judgment.
this is safe space.
That's
is
safe
it
space.
different which end of that sexual experience you are on? Like if you are
You mean the top of
top bottom, is it pain? You know, was that experience, that feeling different? If you were a top or a bottom? Like he said, it was painful. I don't know.
Well, when I
we
said,
weren't talking about
first
physical.
of all,
Right.
no,
We're talking about the emotional.
I said pain. That doesn't mean physical pain.
Oh,
that could
I
be
thought you
emotional
were talking
pain.
about
You
Well,
took
which
it
one
there.
was
I
it?
didn't
I think
say
we
that.
all took it
Okay,
as
so which one was
physical.
it?
I said,
Right.
first of all,
Right.
you trying to speak for me. I said pain.
We thought you were down to the
Yeah.
drug
That was
store
your
trying
that
to
was
get
your
yourself stitched
Okay,
up.
so which one is it?
First of all,
painful.
I said pain and confused.
You said painful.
Pain.
Thank you.
It's still the same thing. Pain.
When you say
But
painful,
Roll the tape back.
Roll the
Both,
tape.
because I was
Justin.
confused when it was over. Like, what just happened?
Painful last.
And then pain, like, what? Wait a minute, is that supposed to happen that way? Because that was my first time, and I'm like, Derek, I was in college, 18. I didn't act on any sexual thing. So he was saying in their generation, they're much younger. I didn't look at it, even in high school as a cheerleader. Don't look at me. Don't even think about coming over here.
Look, like, it's
Because
giving
that's
very
not gonna
much.
happen.
You are a cheerleader.
How you a cheerleader?
sir.
Right.
On the painful
Today.
Say what?
yeah. So just yeah.
Oh yeah, traumatic. What were you saying? You said traumatic.
Yeah. So like from the
How old were you?
I was 12.
With the
Wait a
girl?
minute. Okay.
But she's from New York. See, that's what I was saying a
Yeah.
moment ago. It depends on your geography. Sometimes you
I
go
was just
faster.
telling him that.
Yeah, she was my bully.
Oh.
In middle
Not your
school.
bully.
Yeah, it's a crazy.
Was it consensual?
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
She actually,
Oh, yeah.
we had this real frenemy situation. She was a bully, but also like I desperately wanted to be accepted. She was like the queen bee of the school, so she also, this is a point where we were good, I guess, you know, and so she, you know, you would go get the hall pass, go to the bathroom with someone. I'm thinking I'm just going, trying to be in good graces, trying to not be bullied.
Yeah.
And she throws me into the bathroom, and yeah, tells me to drop hands, and that's when the situation happened.
Oh, wow.
But it was painful. She bit me.
Wait a
And
minute.
this was my first experience doing this, so I'm thinking like I'm in pain, but I'm also confused. But I also know that this is something that I did want, but I've always been taught not to want this. So it was a very conflicting experience. So from then I wouldn't have an experience until like high school, and then another space in college. So it was just always never really being able to really pinpoint how I felt about it, but knowing that I still had that attraction to women, even though it came from an unconsensual place.
According to HRC, 44% of lesbians and 61% of bisexual women experience rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner. 26% of gay men and 37% of bisexual men experience rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner. 46% of bisexual women have been raped. 22% of bisexual women have been raped. 40% of gay men and 47% of bisexual men have experienced sexual violence other than rape. Within the LGBTQ community, transgender people and bisexual women face the most alarming rates of sexual violence. Among both of these populations, sexual violence begins early, often during childhood.
I was older. I was maybe 24, 25. Okay. And so the physical aspects of it felt good. And I always knew I was attracted to men or boys early on. And so the physical aspects felt good. But then after it was over sometime later, then I began to apply all of the other aspects of myself to the situation. what about my family? What
Yes.
about my spirituality?
Yes.
What about, then all the guilt came
Yeah.
in, the shame and all of that. And then I eventually worked through it.
Right. It's interesting that you say that because I've said for a very long time, and again, I can't speak for the females, but I think that oftentimes we act on the feelings. As gay men, we act on the feelings before we deal with the psychology behind the feelings.
Yeah.
So we out there sucking dick and fucking and all of the other stuff. No, we're gonna keep it. We're gonna be honest. You know what I'm saying? We out there fucking and sucking dick, but you're not really thinking about the emotional stuff that comes after it. You know what I mean? I think we need to spend more time thinking about that part of it and then acting on the feelings. And I really do believe that there are a lot of, again, speaking from a male perspective, I think there are a lot of same gender loving men that move within our community. They're going to gay pride events, they're going to parties, they're going to clubs, they're even in relationships, but they still haven't reconciled the feelings that come with being with someone of the same sex.
Yeah.
They're still conflicted.
Well, Craig, some men feel as though that's empowering because they're in control of the situation in their mind. So everybody doesn't. And when Cheryl said men do have emotional connections too, they may not admit it, but they do have them. So they're suppressing that connection because I'm hearing this word of guilt and shame. I'm like Sunshine. I didn't feel guilty. I felt confused. What am I guilty for? This is what I wanted to do, or I thought I wanted to do. So what's the guilt for? Am I living for me or somebody else?
So then what was the confusion?
The confusion was because the way it happened, like, that's not the way I wanted it to happen.
It wasn't consensual?
It was consensual, but it wasn't the way I wanted it to happen because in my mind, it was laid out in a beautiful picture where you have the dinner and the date, but it didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
Well, where have you come from? Cheerleading practice and tambourine practice. Because a lot of the gays definitely were touched at church and on a church convention or a retreat, and you know what I mean, all this kind of stuff.
Scandal erupted when 4 young men filed lawsuits accusing Bishop Eddie Long of sexual misconduct. His lifestyle was a focal point of the suits, which accused him of persuading the men to have sexual relationships with him in exchange for trips, clothes, and cars. The case was later settled for approximately $15 million.
Do you think sexuality is instinctive, it's how we're wired, or do you think it's a choice or a decision?
I think it's both.
Yeah, I agree with Mom. I think it's different for everybody. What else? Anybody else? No. I think it's different for everybody because I do think that depending on your experience, like with you, I think sometimes when you've been, and not that you were molested, but I think sometimes in the case when you've been molested or raped, I think sometimes that can trigger something and you can compartmentalize things and you can kind of move in a space. Like I have a cousin, I've shared this story before. I believe she was born heterosexual, but then she was raped by a group of men. And for a period of her life, she started dating women. But then she went back to dating men because I think inherently, I think she was heterosexual.
I think I have that experience. When I was from 11 to 15, those were 4 years where I was sexually assaulted consistently, right? I don't know if I thought about anything about boy on boy before that. But after that, it was like, oh, okay. So I don't. When you say wired, I think it was something that was unlocked after that. Because I had never thought about it before.
In 1992, Jet magazine published James Cleveland infected LA youth with HIV, $9 million lawsuit claims, which detailed how the Chicago-born gospel musician had not only allegedly sexually abused his foster son, Christopher B. Harris, but had also given him the HIV/AIDS virus.
Are you comfortable in your sexuality now?
No, I don't think that.
But you think people would choose to be gay?
A different life thing.
You see, like me, I'm one of 5 boys.
Yeah.
What?
I'm one of 5 boys, and there's 2 of us that are gay, and I feel like that's how we.
Right.
Well, they said there are more than 3 boys in a family, and one's gay. The chances are there is another gay.
one.
Right. Or at least bisexual.
I have some friends that they're twins and they have a sister and all 3 of them are gay. Both twins are gay and then the girl is gay too.
Right. But somebody, I think you were saying, I don't think anybody decides to be gay. I think people wake up and decide to live their truth, but I don't think anybody decides to be gay.
Yeah.
I
Gay
could
for
be
the
straight, I
scale for
would.
the moment.
We're gonna get to that too.
What'd you say? Gay for the scale.
I would
the
be
moment.
like if I could be straight.
Why could they not
I always
be
felt like
bisexual?
straight people have not an easier life,
Boring.
but
We gonna get to that. Let's table that. We gonna table that.
I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with it at all.
You know,
Yeah.
We'll come to it.
you know, boy toddlers or male toddlers who are effeminate. And so you can't, you know, when you see that, that's not learned behavior. That's who they are innately.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just 2 and 3 years old.
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, it's innate in some people. Yeah.
Coming up next on Telling Our Stories.
If a woman is more masculine, you stand back from that woman versus...
Oh, not me, because I love masculine women.
Be clear. One of the best parts of life is when you can admit the truth to yourself about yourself. Cyberspace is a world where one can become something he isn't, but everything he dares to be. I wasn't interested in getting attached to anyone, and I knew I wouldn't take anyone I met online seriously. I had multiple screen names to increase my chances of meeting someone attractive. The majority of the profiles noted HIV negative under status, but I knew better from the work I had done in the HIV community. I knew 1 out of 3 black gay men was positive. The messages I found in my inbox validated me in my depression. In some strange way, they reinforced that I was worthy and deserving. My days consisted of waking up and logging on to see how many messages had accrued overnight. Months passed before I got honest with my therapist about what was happening with me. And before I knew it, I heard myself say, I've been having sex with people I meet online.
To listen to more of Words Never Spoken in Memoir, visit audible.com.
Do you think your sexual identity is a sin? And that is if you believe, and that is if you believe in God, because I think the assumption is that all black people believe in God.
No, I don't think it's
No, definitely not.
Was there a point that you did believe it was a sin?
No.
Never.
I never.
No,
Never.
When
I was taught that,
everybody
so
else
yeah.
thought it was.
Right.
People use that as a weapon,
Yes.
Yeah.
but no.
I
Right.
remember my son when I talked about this on your pep.
Oh, my podcast, yeah.
My son, he struggled with it because his grandparents are very religious, and so he was like, "Yeah, I don't want you to go to hell," you know.
Oh, he thought that about you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I believe that there's a point where we have to unlearn stuff that we were taught.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to separate the things that we were taught to believe to be true from what we know to be true for ourselves.
Right.
You know?
I think that's one of the things that makes me the most angry for someone to use that as a weapon against a community.
Yeah.
But I think
Try to sway them.
Yeah. But I think also about all of the years that I locked myself in the closet because of what I was taught. All of those wasted years, that I wasn't living my authentic self, my true self. Self-hating. And I believe that has an impact on how we move in the community and how we have relationships. Because you're still trying to,
How we treat one another, divisiveness,
Yes.
treat each other.
Yeah.
You know, and the lack of respect for our own difference.
Because I think sometimes, because even in friendships, I think sometimes when a guy is standoffish with a more effeminate guy, it's really not because you hate that person, it's because you're carrying your own internalized homophobia. You know what I mean? Does that happen on the lady side too? It does?
Is it the flip, more stud, the more you stand off? If a woman is more masculine, you stand back from that woman versus...
Oh, not me, because I love masculine women.
Be clear.
but I do, right.
So how does it work on the female side? Because on the male side, it's typically you stay away from a guy who's extremely feminine. Like I used to write for a theater company when I first moved here, and when I hadn't come out yet, I stayed away from the one, because in theater, there's definitely been some gay men, right? So I would stay away from the ones that I knew were gay because for some reason I thought that any association with them somehow shined a light on me. Oh, he got to be gay too. Right. As if people didn't already think it or know it. You know what I mean? So how does it show up?
I think it's the same.
For you stay away from...
Sam to the stud woman, I think I don't want, for those people who are like, I don't want for people to look at me like I'm gay.
Right, because she's too masculine. So, yeah. Okay.
For feminine women,
I think it has changed so much over the, which is why I do love the young people. They are just doing them. But I still stand with
and women who play basketball, and I saw that in high school, a lot of girls they would say just because she played basketball,
She had to
she's
be.
gay or she's lesbian.
Yeah.
They didn't mean that because, you know, she didn't style her hair a certain way and she played basketball, she was masculine. But a lot of those young ladies were not. They were feminine in their own way. They just didn't wear dresses and perm their hair and put on the makeup, but they were not lesbian.
Or they could have.
So that's that assumption.
Girl basketball has changed. Like if you see the girls now,
they dolled up.
Yeah. They
all
walk into the
dolled
game in a dress.
When did you start to accept yourself? Have you accepted yourself?
My grandma was like my shero. And when I told her, she was like, baby, I still love you no matter what. And after then, I was like, fuck everybody else.
Right.
She know, and she okay with me. I don't care about what nobody else think. You know, my job think,
usually the case.
and nobody else think. Because that was the most important person to me, and I was most scared to tell her. In her own little way, she knew. Because I would bring people home. And I was like, yeah, this is my roommate. Or this is my friend. But my roommate
Y'all
was
love to have a roommate.
The thing is this, you know what? I never lived with my girlfriend. I always had gay guys as my roommate. So, you know, when I did bring a girl home, it was like, I was thinking of hiding the fact that she was more to me because the fact is, I had a male roommate at home to where they might have thought he was my man, but I was like, okay.
So do you think on maybe a subconscious level, that's why you had male roommates to kind of throw family off, to make them think that maybe you had a
No,
boyfriend?
because I can't live with a woman unless I'm sleeping with her, honestly.
Nikki, what were you saying? You said you started to accept yourself when you came out?
Yeah, before I even came out.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, this is who this is who I am, right? Yeah.
So it sounds like you are doing what I said I think more of us need to do, and that is deal with the psychology behind it before you start acting on the feeling.
Yeah, I mean, that was deeper. That's certainly deeper than when I was 16 and was like, to my mom, yeah, I'm gay.
Oh, so you were 16 when you told her?
Yeah.
Where are you from?
St. Louis.
Okay.
I didn't have the same experience as Cheryl. So Cheryl said, once I told my grandmother, I was good. It didn't care.
Yeah.
I thought that would probably have been the case for me as well. After, you know, coming out to my mom. But even after that, I continued to find it a struggle and a challenge to come out to heterosexual friends.
Really?
You know, it was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was tough.
That's interesting because
I relate to it.
But it was it depended on who the friend was. So they obviously had not created an environment that was safe enough for me, you know, to feel comfortable sharing with those individual straight friends.
I never felt like I needed to come out.
I never did that.
Yeah.
Right, this is just who I am. Like, but I think I've always been that person. Like, I didn't care really about what people thought or whatever.
Right.
Anyway,
Right.
so then when my dad was like, "You happy?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like,
Right.
"Okay." Like that was it. My mom took it a little harder, but even for my son, like, because he was young, not that I didn't care. I cared, of course, but it was like, this is just who I am. Like, you accept people for who they are. And that's just it.
Did you like women when you had your
I always thought, you know, in my mind, it would be, I grew up in Miami, right? Not that makes a difference but I always thought it would be like a white woman. I always saw gay as white women, not black women, right? So to me, that's what
Like
it
it
would
can't
be.
be a black thing?
Yeah, like that's how I thought when I was
That's
younger, like
interesting.
really, right? So, but then I always had the thought, like I knew that was something I wanted to do. Not necessarily that I was necessarily gay, but just like I knew I wanted to do it, right? But I mean, I was with men and it wasn't like horrible for me at all. But I didn't have my first lesbian experience until I was 30. My son was 7 or 8, 7 or 8. And I was it was okay. But I will say, now I was moving to Atlanta. So I was like, I would have this experience and move and I would be, you know, it'd be over.
So you were thinking you were going to have it in Miami and leave it there?
Yeah. So I had
it came here and flourished.
She came here to the wrong place.
Right. You had a better chance of going to Butte, Montana.
Nutbush.
Right. Everything. That is true.
Like I have a childhood friend. She had been waiting 30 years for me just to tell her. And I always felt like I didn't need to tell her. Like, but
I'm still right.
she felt like I owed that. She was owed that.
You don't feel the need to say it, because if you were straight, you wouldn't feel the need to say, oh, I'm straight. But do you think that there are people who say, well, I didn't feel the need to tell it because it's just something to hide behind because they really just don't want to face it?
I think that can
For
be
sure.
Yeah, I
I think that can be the case.
Many people.
Yeah.
Like I was really into religion and whatever else, and then when it came out to a particular person that was in my group, and she was straight, and she found out I was gay, and she was like, "Why you never tell me?" That was her first question, and her next question was, "Why you never hit on me?" I mean, if she wasn't gay by no means, I was like, because you're not what I like.
Right.
I mean, I like a girl look, but not you. And I think I was looking at her like really strange, like, why you ask me something like that?
Gay people like everybody.
Yeah, they
That's true.
Especially men.
That is true.
Men think we're attracted to all of them.
Right.
Next time on Telling Our Stories.
Why do y'all feel like y'all have to tell people y'all business I'm gay? Why is that important? As you just said, heterosexual and walk around saying, well, I'm heterosexual. Why do you have to be transparent? That's my business. If I'm that close to you and you want to know, then I'll tell you.
For me, and since I've been working and I've been out, it's never been we have to hide. It's always been open and free. I think the hardest part now is getting the backlash of not just telling us, not the actual part of coming out. Because it's just like, we know, so why you didn't say that or why you lied?
When I came out, I didn't want to have 100 individual conversations. So I just sent one email to everybody.
I love it.
And it wasn't, but the email wasn't just about coming out. It was about coming in too, really.
Come on.
This episode of Telling Our Stories is sponsored by SayItInACard.com. If you feel it, we say it in a card. Visit us today, www.sayItInACard.com.
SayItInACard.com is an online greeting card company that delivers right to your front door. Visit our website, www.sayItInACard.com. You can read the cards, order the cards, and we ship them directly to you. If you feel it, we say it in a card. We have breakup cards, troubled relationship cards, troubled friendship cards, and of course, all of the traditional cards as well, from birthday to Mother's Day. So again, visit us at www.sayItInACard.com. Free shipping for a limited time.
Previously on Telling Our Stories.
What about my family? What
Yes.
about my spirituality?
Yes.
What about, then all the guilt came in, the shame and all of that.
That has an impact on how we move in the community. Typically, you stay away from a guy who's extremely feminine.
Those were 4 years where I was sexually assaulted consistently, right? I don't know if I thought about anything about boy on boy before that. never came out to my parents. I remember my grandmother, I was like in the 7th grade, and she was like on her way to about to pass away, and she said to me, she said, don't live your life being afraid to join the world, or something she said like that. I couldn't remember what it was, but she said like, don't live your life like that. I couldn't think of what it, and then one day she said in front of the family like, and y'all leave me alone when I'm not here. And that, I never felt the need to come out after that. So like, I would bring guys around or something like that when I was like a teenager. They wouldn't ask, but they just knew.
Yeah.
They didn't need a statement.
Grandma said not to fuck with you.
Right.
But I wanted to go back to, I think Monica, you said that your mother or grandmother didn't.
Grandmother was sure. Because I wanted to
Somebody didn't. Your grandmother accepted you, but I think you said you didn't have that same spirit.
No, my mom accepted me, but it was still a challenge for me to come out to her friends.
So what I was going to say was, I think usually, like, typically, if the woman in your life that raised you, whether it was your grandmother, your mother, if that person accepts you, usually you really don't.
You
care
take on the world.
You don't care about anybody else.
You give no fucks after that.
You really don't.
Well, it was more important for me, my grandmother, even though I was raised, I had 2-parent household, but it was more important to me that my grandmother accepted me than my mother did. Because I'm like, once grandmama did, I didn't care what my mother did or not. Because she gonna do what my grandmama tells her to do. So like,
because my mother called my grandmother and said, well, you know, Craig told me he was gay. She said, okay, Ann, I'm still gonna love him, aren't you? Yeah. You know, my grandmother said that to my mother. So have you accepted yourself? We spent a lot of time talking about whether or not other people accepted us, but have you fully accepted yourself? So is everybody completely transparent in every aspect of your life, whether it's work, family?
Well, I have a thing. Well, why do you have to tell people?
I do. Because you do the he, she, them, they thing.
I don't do that. However, when we got married, I was intentional about that. At work, I put the picture up. I hyphenated the last name because I wanted everybody to know something has changed. I wear the ring. I talk about the experience because you need to know my life is just as important as yours. Because I also went through the period where I hid.
Right.
So
I wanted when you come to work, you talk about what you did with your husband over the weekend.
Right. And so I was clear about that. But I don't know if it was, I mean, it definitely was an outward, appearance, but I also wanted to make sure that I was being true to who I am. I didn't want to not hide myself because I did it for so long.
Right.
Well, I think mine is more like I don't care what the people at work have going on, so I don't really share. Now, if they ask, I will tell. But I don't give a fuck about the people I work with.
That's right.
I'm with Sam. I was about to say, why do y'all feel like y'all have to tell people y'all business? I'm gay. Why is that important? As you just said, heterosexual and walk around saying, well, I'm heterosexual. Why do you have to be transparent? That's my business. If I'm that close to you and you want to know, then I'll tell you. Right. If I feel the need to tell you. I don't understand why
not hiding, but
gay people have to feel like they have to always make a representation. I'm gay. Why?
I can speak to at least from my experience. So grew up with my grandmother raised me, grew up. My family has the key to the church, so new church. We got the key to the church today. Went into the military, dated women. A lot of my friends, even today, are from the military. And when I came out, so I was older, and most of my friends at that point were from the military, straight. My grandmother had passed, so I didn't have any parents, so they were really, my friends and military family were really important to me, and my biological family, my aunts, those people, I held them close because I didn't have parents, and so I knew something was changing or had changed. When I had the experience, I was like, I made the decision, this is the experience, this is it, I'm clear. And I went through the period of ensuring I did the mental work, being okay with myself. I did all that. And I felt like the last thing to do was to be clear with people that I had given another version of myself. I need to be clear with these people that I care about. And so I didn't, but what I did do, and people, my family and friends sometimes joke with me about the way I did it. I didn't want to have 100 individual conversations. So this was, emails were big. So I just sent one email to everybody. And it wasn't, but the email wasn't just about coming out. It was about coming into, really.
Come on.
It was. Although most people pulled out the coming out, it was really coming into something different.
Yeah.
And I wanted
Vindicated?
everybody to be clear about what it was.
Right. Did you feel vindicated?
I don't know that
Like
I
I've
felt.
arrived, like get it, bitch.
Yeah, I mean,
did that.
Yeah, but I felt.
A weight lifted off.
Yeah,
Because
I
you're
didn't.
just being true.
Yeah,
Right.
I didn't have to hide any aspect of myself. I was clear with everybody, and because I had built a life where certain people knew pieces, and then at some point you forget who know what.
You really do.
Being a
It was too
chameleon.
much. It was too much. So I was just like, let me make this easy on myself. I'm one way all the way.
That's exhausting.
So in terms of and then I went through every aspect of my life. So at work, it's like I'm just gonna be me.
Yeah.
Period. So that's where for me it was like it's easier just to be.
It is.
In every aspect
I
of my
totally
life.
understand that. But even in dating men, I didn't share that I was dating this guy.
Okay.
So so I totally understand that.
Right.
But everything that I do is just I'm doing me.
Right.
So either you know or you don't.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's
one
not
thing
that I make a point of
One thing that I would say is I think that what we're experiencing is it's okay to have the experience you want. You got to figure that out for yourself.
Correct.
You got to carve that out for yourself. Nobody's experience is going to be the same. There's
no one way to do it.
That's right.
There's no one way to do
There
it.
isn't.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, because I know one job forever, and I was just very quiet. I never shared anything personal. And my coworkers were like, you didn't do anything this week? And I would laugh and I would tell Sam, I said, they really feel sorry for me. Like, they don't think that I have this whole
Meanwhile,
complete
he had this
life.
full gay life over the weekend.
And they would be jealous if they knew what you did.
And so now I have made a very conscious effort to be very transparent. They know that I'm married. They know that, I share to who I want to share, what I did over the weekend. And so now, because I didn't want to walk around having people feel sorry for me for no reason whatsoever. But it was because I wasn't comfortable within my own skin to trust these people and to just be open and honest. And now that I've done it, I just feel it's just a weight and just totally lifted.
Yeah, like I played the I played the pronoun game. I did.
As if that isn't a telltale.
Going back to the pronoun game, Wendell, I met some of my closest girlfriends, through work.
Yeah.
And one of my really, really, really good, girlfriends, Stephanie, all this time I was dating Steve, and then Steve broke up with me and I'm devastated, and it was like, I owe it to her to tell the truth because I really need to lean on her now.
Right.
And I remember calling her on the phone, just crying, and I was like, Steve is really Sophie. Steve is, and crying, and she didn't care, but it takes a lot of mental energy and gymnastics to live that type, to do all of that. It's a lot.
No, but part of what we're talking about too is what I recognized is these are friends, people I'm close to, and I've been lying to them.
Exactly.
So I owe them the truth. So for me, that it was more about, showing up authentically and undoing the lies that I had told for so long. And I've had the some of these. So my two best men were straight guys from the military, and I've had some beautiful experiences after coming out. But I've also had moments. I've had some friends who didn't forgive me for lying.
Oh wow!
That's a. And I have to own it because I played the game, Right. So for me it was again more about being intentional about who I am, how I want to live my life, what that represents, and being honest about it in the best in most honest way I can.
Right.
Because sometimes it's hard. It's hard in some. It was hard coming out at work. It was like that was the hardest.
But the question then becomes: is it harder to come out or to stay trapped in that closet and do that mental
at that point, it was hard.
It was hard
Because the easiest, because I don't really, I see them 9 to 5,
Well,
but I didn't really care what they
But like I'd be on calls and I would withhold information, or I would play the pronoun game, and then it was hard pushing past that and saying the right saying he as opposed to she. And, that was hard for me.
I think y'all just have it hard. I think y'all had it harder because, like, for me, and since I've been working and I've been out, it's never been we have to hide. It's always been open and free. Like, hey, what you and your partner did this weekend? Or, hey, like, even all across the board. So, like, I'm just listening to all the conversations. And, like you said, you came out through email to your family and stuff like that. I think the hardest part now is getting the backlash of not just telling us, not the actual part of coming out. Because it's just like, we know, so why you didn't say that or why you lied. So I relate to you on the part where you was like, people were saying you had to unfold the lies and stuff. So I definitely relate to that part, but it was just like, I never experienced that. Like, I never experienced any backlash or any hard parts of, like, I have to come out to my coworkers, or it's like now companies like, hey, how can we help your community now? Or what do we need to do?
That's what I was going to say. We didn't have examples.
They paved the way.
There were no examples. I didn't know when I came out, or when I started having feelings, like, I feel something. Like, everybody talks about the moment they knew. For me, it was Erica Estrada on Chips.
Not shit.
When I saw, I would feel some sort of way. I'd be like, ooh, Chips. Go Google Chips. Erica Estrada.
Coming up next on Telling Our Stories.
I saw a video on TikTok where a woman was actually saying, the trans women need to stop taking their men. And I was just like appalled. I'm like, can't nobody take what's not yours. So how is that possible?
When I released my first book, I remember thinking very heavily about Elon Harris and how he did it, how he managed to reach millions of people around the world through his work, and how I would do it. His readers became my readers. I write because it's my passion. I write with black people on my mind and black gay men in my heart. Toni Morrison gave me the courage to say that out loud.
Yes, I can write about white people. White people can write about black people. Anything can happen in art. There are no boundaries there.
I could write about anything, anyone, but I choose to write about our experience.
And I've spent my entire writing life trying to make sure that the white gaze was not the dominant one in any of my books.
Book of Jewels is my love letter to black people.
It has nothing to do with who reads the books. Everyone, I hope, of any race, any gender, any country.
Book of Jewels is 11 of the biggest life lessons that I've learned to date, and the stories behind those lessons. Book of Jewels is available now on Audible, all e-readers, and Amazon.com. Visit www.craigthewriterstewart.com for more information.
Not so being able to, or needing to hide it, but more so it being erased from who I am. Like, a lot of times because I am bisexual and because of my aesthetic or because of how people perceive me, it's perceived as I don't have this like part of my identity. And so even when I am honest about it, it's like, okay, well, like, she's not with someone like who's the opposite sex, who's the same sex, so it doesn't really matter. We see her with opposite sex because that's what's available to her, so that's what we're going to associate her with. So I found myself a lot of times figuring out, okay, am I with this person? Most times because it's what's available to me in terms of men, even though I would really want to be with a woman, but they also don't think that I'm attracted to them. So how do I stand on this brand of being who I am and just being honest, but like knowing that that's not being accepted or believed, if that makes sense.
Do you mean like the lesbians weren't accepting you as lesbian?
Yeah.
So they were saying like, oh no, we don't think you're a lesbian. You need to go back to men.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they felt like they saw you with a man. So they weren't. Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
Are those lesbians your age?
No, usually it's older.
Oh, I was gonna say it's the
And my
older
age is
generation
older.
that has
Right.
an issue
That don't
with it.
accept- exactly.
Correct. It's the older generations. I'm very true to I like what I like. Right. And I date one at a time. Everybody assumes you got to be dating them
That
both.
you're non-committal because you're bisexual.
I know I'm dating one or the other.
Right.
My preference is women.
Yeah.
And I actually tend to find that it's more of I've had this long-term relationship with a woman, then I'll go get me an old boyfriend just to
The balance.
right. It's like I don't have to commit to the man, but it's something to do. Like when you break up with a woman, you don't have to become emotionally attached to the man.
Right.
But I can go out and date, enjoy his company, without being committed.
So just kind of
I feel
a
more
rebound.
emotionally committed to women.
A man as a rebound.
That time filler.
I know.
So kind of like the gays use Jack and Grindr when they come out of a relationship.
So like this, the woman you date, the woman you date and the man you date, do they have any similarities? Do you pick different, like more masculine? And
No, not necessarily.
Just Russian.
No, that's not true. That's not true. But I don't like machizo men. I don't like the uber macho.
All that bravado.
I don't like all of that. I like a man that is respectful. Because my father was super respectful to my mother, but he wasn't uber macho. I like that.
Yeah.
The courtesies, the pull the chair out, all of that good stuff.
The creatives.
The creative.
All right, so I want to kind of move through though, because I got a lot of other stuff that I want to talk about. When I think about DL or down low, I often think about men who live double lives. What is it that you think of? Because women also live double lives too. So what is it that you think of when you think about DL or down low?
Men.
Man, that's the first thing that comes into mind.
Yeah. But there are women.
That's because that's what the title has
We've been
been
socialized to.
socialized. But you're right. I mean, it's anybody who's not living their true selves.
Yeah. So have you, any of the ladies, have you experienced dating a woman that was DL?
Yeah, that was me. I just told you that story.
Monica just told you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
Do you think it was just
And I wouldn't
sexual?
do it again.
You think it was just sexual for her?
No, I think that's probably why I got cut off. It was beyond,
Is there a different term in the female community? We call it DL on the men's side, but is it called something else?
I don't think we give it a name.
I think so.
Okay.
Really, we don't
definitely has a
that was
category.
a term, as he was saying, was given for black men because white men are not called
Correct.
DL, so
You're
that's
right
corrected.
about that.
That is a term that was stigmatized for black men.
Right.
As Monica's saying, with the woman who came to you and knowing that she was straight, she had I don't want to say a fetish or desire to play for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So in a term, she was closeted, down low, whatever you want to call it, but she just wasn't clear about it. Yeah. Okay. But there is no term, correct, in the female?
No
Okay.
term.
Yeah, it's not.
No label.
Is trans identity something that you understand?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't understand all the letters yet. Like the additional letter, I get in trouble with that all the time.
Yeah, I
If
get
you were
trouble.
to say,
Could you go further? What you mean by
after-
trans identity?
I'm missing some letters at the end.
Right. So do you believe that? Do you understand what it is to be trans? Do you think it's a real thing, or do you think people are just kind of?
Definitely a real thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think we don't have to understand it in order to give them basic human dignity. Like, if that's their path and that's what they want to be, just give them basic, respect them, and then let them have their own life. I don't think we have to understand. That's what I don't understand about black people who don't understand gay people. You don't have to understand it. You don't have to walk in it to give people basic life principles of, hi, how are you? Have a good day. Wish you well. You don't have to understand somebody's struggle to respect them.
Because you don't understand whiteness.
I wish them well go.
And it's the same thing that black folks expect from white folks. So do you think? So obviously, you're saying that you do believe that people can be born trans.
Well, they feel like they're born in the wrong identity.
Born in the wrong identity. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I never understand why folks don't understand it, because people are sometimes born what's known now as intersex, but once upon a time it was called hermaphrodite.
Hermaphrodite.
And the way that I've always understood it is, if a person can be born with both genitalia on the outside, then surely the quote-unquote wires can be crossed on the inside. Yeah. So that's the way I always look at it. Do you think most queer people or gay people, lesbians and gay men, discriminate against trans people? Do you think there's a separation?
I definitely I don't think as much as we
Used to.
Yeah, I agree with
but
that.
I definitely think
Right.
we do.
Because even friendship was kind of undercover.
Yeah.
Like, you know, once upon a time, you didn't necessarily speak to a trans person in the grocery store.
Now I agree with that. Like in the 80s, it was
Well, the
them,
stigma
those
was-
people.
I
know.
Well,
They didn't want to be associated.
There was a fear for trans people that they were immolating men or women and trying to do something to children. I've never felt that way because I was educated by trans people that, you know, they felt as though they were born in the wrong body. So I do agree with Sam. In the 80s and stuff, there was a stigma that they were evil people. And I hate the word saying they because that's still putting them in a category instead of saying we're all the same. They're just, their sexuality is a little different than how they look at sex. Because I saw a video on TikTok where a woman was actually saying, the trans women need to stop taking their men. And I was just like appalled. I'm like, can't nobody take what's not yours. So how is that possible?
Transgender people face significant discrimination across much of the globe, and in many countries can be arrested and or subjected to violence if they make themselves known. As a result of these realities, many transgender individuals decline to participate in trans-focused polls or population counts. Even trans-friendly countries are just starting to officially track transgender populations.
What I be seeing in like different like AHF and different AIDS foundations and stuff like that, sometimes they exclude the trans people from their marketing. Like it'll just be a gay man and a gay couple. They don't even include a trans couple or trans like, so they do exclude the trans from stuff like that.
Right.
I be seeing that a lot.
Now, how soon is too soon for a person or child to transition?
Ooh.
In your opinion?
There's so many laws coming out.
This is going to get good.
I have no I don't know about this. I have no
Yeah, I
You
don't.
said what? 18?
So
Under 18.
I think full surgery, you probably, to me, should be 18. But like hormones, I think you should be able to start the hormonal process earlier. Because from what I understand, there's a...
I was gonna say, yeah, I think for like young boys who are who want to transition, I think that there is a benefit for at least trying to for being on hormones at an earlier age, just because of developmental issues. But along with that, there has to be a lot of counseling, and to make sure that this is the correct decision, like that this is your permanent.
Because the question is, what happens if later you decide
you don't
realize that's not really who I am.
Exactly. That's why I think surgery is. You definitely should hold off on surgery to a much older age. But if this is part of your journey to transition, I do think as far as having more like feminine qualities, you with the hormones at an earlier age, you have to start. Because I think Janet Mock is a perfect example. And I've heard her speak how it was easier for her to transition because she started at 16 years old. So she was able to stop certain things that would like the Adam apple growth. Her height, she kind of stopped that, studied that, I should say, I guess.
But then how long should you go through counseling before the decision is made?
With 25, when your brain develops, like I feel like if you're gonna start the hormonal process before 18, you have your parents consulting you, you have someone there to support you in that journey. But then at some point, there's gonna be a gap, and you still have your brain is still developing, so you still don't really know if that's the decision that you want to make. Yes, you feel that's the decision you want to make, but you don't truly know. So I feel like if the person is eligible and financially has the capacity to have that counseling until 25, they should have that, because that's when your brain is fully developed. That's when your brain is actually able to say, I stand on, and I actually stand on it. I think up until that point, you can know things intuitively, but actually your brain being developed is a whole different process in terms of that timeline. So 18 to 25, I think that you still need guidance, and I think that counseling should still be provided for that.
Next time on Telling Our Stories.
I think whoever I'm with, I'ma fully satisfy you. I don't care if you are bisexual or not. That's just me personally.
The peace of mind is what's priceless. We think it's the accoutrement and the mate and the partner, but what is bringing you peace of mind? And we haven't quite figured that out.
I would definitely choose to be straight. I'm clear about who I am. I'm okay with being who I am. I've accepted it. I'm okay with being black and all that other stuff. But I just believe that if I was straight, if I was born straight, I think I would have had a smoother life. That doesn't mean that straight folks don't have turbulence and all that kind of stuff, but I think I would be married now and probably have 2 or 3 children. Now, I do think on the other side of it, I don't think I would be as creative as I am.